Hmm.
Hello.
Hello to
Hi.
everyone, wherever you all are.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello,
Garry,
hello.
Shahana. Good to see you again. Miss
Wonderful to
y'all.
see you all. Missed you all too.
Yeah.
I think a lot's happened, right, since we went live several weeks ago.
Oh, indeed.
Understatement. Understatement. I've just been kind of in shock.
Ah,
Oh boy. So, what would y'all like to jump into? I mean, we were chatting offline a little bit about the big C collapse. Um, I'd love to hear what that means to each of us, the collapse. Mm.
hmm. I'll
I'm
go.
ready whenever you are. I'm gonna go last because
Okay,
yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah.
So far, I've just realized as I was logging into StreamYard that I just had my name, Shahana, and Gary had something. You have real life coaching. Gary have strategic thinking partner. I didn't put anything next to it. And just now, just before I was clicking, uh, you know, just before I was entering the studio and next to my name, I just put pluriversalplanet.com in brackets, in parentheses. And I was wondering why, as we were speaking, why did I suddenly put it in today? And the first thing that came to my mind is because we are being bulldozed, murdered by this hegemonist narrative that's running the show. We
Mm.
are a pluriverse. We are not a universe. We are a pluriverse. And because we are being collectively made to, forced to forget the very pluriversal nature of this planet, that today we are heading towards collapse. The universe has been, the universal narrative, this one world narrative, has been forced down, rammed down our throat.
Mm.
And because of that, we are heading towards collapse today under this, under the guise of capitalism, another big C.
Mm.
So I very deliberately put in pluriversal planet to remind myself all the time that the universe is a forced, enforced entity. It doesn't exist. We are a
Mm.
gloriously abundant pluriversal planet of many narratives, waiting to, literally waiting to be abandoned again. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
over to you.
Mm. So true. I love that plural verse too. I love that. Mm.
Thank you.
Gary.
I've just had a really huge reaction in this moment, Trina and
Mm.
Johanna, because I've never, in my 47 years, dissected uni singular verse. I talk about the pluriversal. I've learnt that through Johanna and others, but I've not actually gone, oh my goodness, we've been sold a lie around the fact that we're part of this wonderful, abundant universe, but as a singular, abundant, expansive universe of which you are part. And that's just what you just shared, Johanna, emphasizing the singular verse
Mhm.
is another collapse narrative for me in this moment, which is beautiful. So I want to thank you for that. And it's so where I'm coming from, my response to this, Trina and Johanna, around the collapse that's happening is what just happened there for me in this moment
Mm.
is the biggest singular opportunity, but also threat in this moment, which is, do we allow ourselves to let go of the pain, trauma, upset, division, oppression that's been going on for a long time, but we can now see it for what it is, whether
Mm.
it's a newspaper article, whether it's fear-based organizational structures, whether it's a friend that just doesn't want to hear an alternative point of view, all of those different meso and macro levels. Do we allow ourselves, right? Because that's all we've got influence over. Do we allow ourselves to let go of these narratives, these stories, these fears? Or do we actually cling harder onto the maintaining collapsing narratives because it feels better to go down with the Titanic than it does to try and imagine beyond it? And that's my invitation this moment is, as Shahana invited me and you invited Trina for me, just then at the moment was that, oh my God, I can let go of the universal singular universe and truly embody a pluriversal perspective. Because I've spoken about being pluriversal, Shahana, but in that moment just now, you both gave me the gift of feeling into the pluriverse and what's possible through multiple lenses and not just a singular universal narrative. So yeah, that's where I'm at, Trina. Just like I'm literally discombobulated in this moment in a really good way. So over to you.
Wow. And you know what?
Yeah.
I kind of had the same reaction too, Garry, because I often, because of my kind of distance from religious kind of aspects, say we're all, it's, universal law, but kind of just realizing I was saying the same thing, just changing the words, instead of God, I'm saying universe. But I'm saying there's just one. But there is no way it's just one. I mean, we are a multiverse. We are a plural verse. You can look at the stars in astronomy and and see that we're all these galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies. Why are we, boxed into this one ideology around who we are and why we exist when we're these multifaceted people with so many different ideas and ways of expressions? Why don't we embrace expression, without harm, you know? And I think it's that last piece. I mean, we as a collective on this particular planet have been extremely bamboozled in deifying others. You know what I mean? Like political systems, we get religion, gods. It's always this looking up outside of ourselves instead of looking in and connecting with that plurality and with that part of who we are, our mind, body, spirit, like connection. It's never just one thing. And when one of the things I talk about with my clients is that when one of those things are out of alignment, everything falls out of place. We've been sold a bill of goods that everything has to be segmented, and everything is segmented to profit under one structure. And that one structure is currently in collapse because it wasn't right from the beginning. Yet we keep listening to fools. And I'm calling them fools because they keep doing the same thing over and over again. Civilizations fall and rise, but they keep doing the same thing. That's what my observation is. We're not really doing what we are is. I was watching, who was it? Gosh, can't think of his name, but he said we live not in a civilization, but in a technology-based colony.
Yeah.
Because people murdering themselves and other people are not civilized. People warring and taking people's lands and livelihood and resources is not civil. It's the extreme opposite of that. You know, how, when I think of colonization, there was nothing civil about that, but it was covered up with civility and behaviors and things like that. Oh, you're supposed to be this. Why can't the people exist the way that they want to exist, and we go and learn and have an interest without trying to corrupt or take over their land? I mean, Native Americans say, what? What do you mean this is your land? Nobody can own land. How can they, how could they understand that? But people who colonized couldn't. That's what's gotten us in this mess.
Yep.
A misalignment of and
Yep.
a lack of understanding of our collective place in this plural verse.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're saying, Trina, it's also this, you know, what you brought up, that a we thought this Earth was the center at one time. Remember that
Mm-hmm.
everything revolved around Earth. It didn't, and of course that threw everyone into blue fits. Then we refused to accept for the longest time, and when I say we, I won't say we, the Christian world refused to accept for the longest time
Mm-hmm.
that we just evolved out of other primates. We were not made in God's own image. And of course, God had to be male and white. Never mind that. But, and then, so one more falsehood imposed. Then the savages, the primitives, thought of land as living, as they, and rightfully so. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, land had to be converted into inert matter for us to excavate and rape and pillage it the way we have done. We, not we. I don't
Mm-hmm.
include myself in it.
No,
The
I don't.
certain part of the world did. To own it, to colonize it, to see it as just a storehouse of resources, and
Mm-hmm.
even bodies of certain people as resources, as labor. That's it. And from there, it's easy to extrapolate that you have a world, a civilization, imposed civilization that is called civil and that is trying to root out pluriversality in the name of universality, because other forms of beliefs, of being and relating to this planet and all sentient beings threatens capitalism. I mean, you will not go and ravage the earth if you know it's living. You will not go and kill indiscriminately when you know a tiger, a bear, a bee, they are also your relatives.
Mm-hmm.
But you will only do it when we see ourselves as the apex creation who owns everything else, who can
Mm-hmm.
do whatever we want with anything else. It doesn't matter. They are not living after all. I mean, that's what Descartes said. That's what Bacon said. That's what the
Mm-hmm.
entire Enlightenment, God damn it, was based on. Not so enlightened
Right.
after all, you see.
Oh, it was the dumbest thing I ever. I hate
Dumbest thing.
dumbest thing ever is this enlightenment and misunderstanding of how to live together. They just, I think it's one of the most fear-based
Yep.
movements ever created to justify the subjugation of humans
And you call it
for profit.
enlightenment for what? I mean, what was enlightened about it?
Nothing.
And then you burn women who could see through all of this and call them witches just because they were close to nature, just because
Exactly.
they could
Yeah.
see through all your contraptions and your stupidities and your whatever. your
Yeah.
dumb fuck things that you all are doing. And then you burn them at the stake and call them witches. Probably the wisest people who existed at that time were
Yeah.
burnt alive.
Yeah. Yeah. But they did it to everyone.
Yep,
They did it to Native Americans.
yep.
They did it to anybody who said, "Hey, what are you
Y'all are,
doing?
I know.
Well, this is stupid. If you extract this dead thing, I was just talking to my son about this. Extracting oil was the beginning of the end because I'm a strong believer that when things die, they should stay in the ground.
And then you
Like,
do it over and over and over and over to an extent that is unimaginable. Then you devise technology to do it even more powerfully. So you have trawlers, you have mine mountaintop mining, and you have whatnot. So all of that technology put to the use of ravaging, disfiguring, and raping this planet without a thought, just for some accumulation of some capital somewhere in the hands of some people who want to escape this planet. And I don't know
yeah.
what they have to plan to do. Excavate Mars, Mercury, God knows what.
Eh,
Never mind. But yeah,
Virilic. Virilic is what I
yeah,
see
yeah.
it as.
The
You
relics
know.
of that this humanity. How do we hospice the relics of this narrative?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
I'm just like, I've missed you both seriously, and like this is like a proper catch up, right? I'm literally. I've never done this before intuitively. I've just captured some of what you've shared in the comments, so it's easier for people to see what we're talking about and then maybe come back to the discussion. But I just think already when you look at the patterns, right? Universe, sentient beings threaten capitalism. Shahana, what a quote! You're a strong believer, Trina, that things that are dead should stay in the ground, right? I work in the chemicals industry, right? And I would agree with you,
Yeah.
right? Because all of these patterns, right? What I'd love to add to this is if I bring it super granular to me, where I sit in the world and the system I'm part of, right? Within chemicals, within global extraction, within multinational corporations. I can tell you both, and I can tell everybody watching this, people know where we are in this moment. People understand where we are in this moment, but they are paralyzed by fear. They truly believe that if they say anything, they will lose their job, they will lose their house, they will lose their family. Like, and that is hegemony right there, doing exactly what it's here to do. Keep a complete fear-based paralysis that stops anybody going inside, as you said, Trina, feeling. Because guess what a sentient being is? It's something that feels. It has intelligence. It trusts that mind, body, spirit connection, right?
Yeah.
And I'm interested because more and more people are starting to join that up. So I think I'm not some happy clappy, like we're in collapse, right? In the West, it is collapsing. There's no two ways about it. But
Yeah.
what I feel curious about is there's many people that are in that paralysis, but know there's better, but don't quite know how to reach it. They don't
Yeah.
know how to engage with it. And I think that's where both of your work is so important because it is the inner journey, right? We can't,
Yeah.
it's been my journey the last 9 years. Like it took me having everything the outside world conditioned me matters. I needed to have it all to realize it meant nothing if I wasn't healed and connected on the inside. And I
Right.
think that journey's starting, I think, Trina and Shahana, a lot more people are starting to realize it's not an external fix, it's an inner remembering.
Mm. That, that, Gary, you said it. An inner remembering. Our DNA is encoded with the history and understanding of our ancestors. It's already there. It's like passed on, passed on. But what we have been taught to do is ignore our intuition, is to they toxify our body to the point where we can't access that inner knowledge. Everything is right here inside, but we're so distracted. It is constant bombardment. Hey, look at this show. Look at this. Look at this war. Nobody can get out of the state of perpetual terror because they're constantly bombarding us with stuff to distract us from the inside journey.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, I mean, what they were lobotomizing people for a century who said, I have a vision or I have a feeling, or, those people were put over to the great crazy side. And they then, I have major issues with the field of psychology because of what and who created it in order to stop the internal growth of people and the understanding of this world, because psychology has been implicit with telling everybody else they're the problem because you can't normalize to a toxic environment. When your body is screaming, when your conscious is screaming, this is not right.
Yep.
People are literally, quote unquote, going crazy. They're just trying to get out of this mess because it's not the way it's supposed to be. And our internal compass knows it. Everyone on this planet knows this is not how it's supposed to be. Everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're paralyzed with fear, like you said, Garry, to speak up, to do anything because, everybody's made an example.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, Snowden had to run from the country for telling the truth. Okay. What's his name? The other guy is still locked up in prison. What's his name?
Assange. Julian
Assange.
Assange.
He didn't do
Julian.
anything wrong.
He,
He absolutely just showed the world the truth of what was happening. And I think there's a deep connection
exactly.
with all of these wars.
Yes.
Every last one of them are targeted in places of great wisdom.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to control the narrative. And it's also not surprising to me that the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, these major families who were in the oil and energy industry, Garry, have the biggest collections of antiquities in the world.
Stolen.
Yeah.
Antiquities. Because if you control the knowledge, you control the narrative, and
Yep.
you say, okay, what you're saying is crazy.
Yep. Yep.
We've got to get out of that thinking. It's all a control.
Control. Counter narratives are immediately put down. And
Mm-hmm.
when Garry said remembering, you know what came up? I don't know. I'm in this. I was thinking this planet and each, like you said, Trina, have been dismembered. So we literally have to remember, reconnect our dismembered inner beings. It's like our head, like I said once. It's like one, it's like a brain on a stick. We have to dismember, like a dismembered parts have to be rejoined, remembered again to function as integral wholes. And each one of us carry that compass within us. We are all walking, talking compasses, but we are not allowed to function because, like you said, we are distracted, dismembered, disjointed. Our imagination colonized not only our
Love that.
lands, not only our bodies, not only our labor or our time. Our imagination has been colonized to the extent that we cannot imagine beyond what we've been told over
Mm.
and over and over and over again in so many ways, through education, through healthcare, through psychology, through the narrative. And it's it's like this narrative has now started leaking holes,
Mm.
too many holes, and everything is spilling out.
Yep.
So all
Yep.
of what we are doing, and people all over the globe are doing things like us. counter narratives. They're spilling out. And because they're spilling out, the powers that we are going crazy trying to control, they're waging wars because they are so afraid of what is spilling out will destroy them. And it is in the process. They
Yes.
are going to be swept clean away. So, this last minute fury, this late stage
Mm,
capitalism that is coming sharp, that is, that is so savage, savage in the true sense of the word, not
Hmm.
savage and primitive in the dualist sense of the word. The
mm-hmm,
savages who inhabited forests, so called savages, were
mm,
the people who knew, who had the wisdom. But this savagery that is being inflicted today in the guise of war, in the guise of neo-colonial settler colonialism, in the guise of Israel in
mm,
colonizing Palestine, is being powered by a set of really scared people who are seeing their efforts of centuries being unraveled.
mm,
Their efforts at dismembering the planet is
mm,
being unraveled, and the planet and us are remembering our role on this planet.
mm, mm-hmm. And that brings me a sense of joy
Yes.
and, you know, at the same time, like I said, I, I, I had always been programmed with an idea of what family was and um, what success was. I have a client that says, I have done everything that I was supposed to do to succeed. Why am I still living in poverty? Why? I've got the degrees, I've got the certificates. And I said, because you have not connected back with who you are yet. You're looking for external validation. You're comparing yourself to all of these structures that were not meant for you. You have to work outside of the hegemony because the certificates don't matter, the degrees don't matter. That was all created to keep everything boxed in, tidy, and to keep everyone in line and thinking the exact same way. That's the main purpose of education. It's not creative thinking because they've robbed the arts. They've robbed the arts. In America right now, they're trying, yeah, this debt ceiling crap that they're talking about. My mind is like, just print some more money because that's what you always do.
It's so true.
It's like, this shit ain't real. Excuse my French. It's just, it's such it's just to create more fear. Oh my God, and we're not going to be able to pay our bills. You never pay your bills to anybody. That's why the U.S. economy is a credit and debt system, just very much like the UK.
Hmm.
It's the dumbest structure I've ever heard in my life. How are you going to, and everybody's just going with it because it's been working very well for a big percentage of the people. But you see immediately when the smaller guys figured out how the stock exchange and the hedge funds worked. Oh, scramble, scramble. We've got to regulate. We've got to change things. Why is that? Because the jig is up. People are waking up to the fact that it's just made up crap. And it's all in place to keep us in fear and in line. And so, you know, we all have we have a public, we have a private, and we have a secret persona. And when I think about the West, the public persona is democracy. Everybody gets a chance if they work hard. The private is, well, only a few people really. The secret is even fewer. Okay? You've got to be selected. And so, why are we in war? Why we are in every single war has to do with BlackRock and companies like that keeping themselves in power and wealthy while the rest of us toe the line.
Yep.
But like we are all saying, this is all about to collapse. And the sad part is that they will be okay, you know? But, and we will, people will get desperate and they will start doing what all captive animals do, attacking each other. So my call to people is, don't do that. Go in. Go in. Find the person that you know you are and that you've always been, but you've been afraid to be due to ridicule, due to, whatever the reason is. Go in and help each other. Help each other. Have conversations like what we're having, because that heart connection has always been there. We were not born of sin.
Yep.
We are born of
Absolutely.
love,
Yes.
but we have forgotten.
That's it.
You wouldn't believe it. It's like 32 minutes.
Oh, wow. Is it?
This is what you call flow state energy. Time's linear, right? It's all made up again. So it's a made up construct.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm conscious to honor your time, energy balances. Should we do a little round of checkout for this occasion?
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Go for it,
Yeah.
Garry.
Let's do a little start with Shahana, then Trina, then back to myself, and just let everybody know if you watch this back or you have been lurking in the background but haven't said anything. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. So we'd love to have, and we're also open to guests as well. So we'd be really interested if you're passionate about this topic, if you've got a perspective to share. We particularly want to amplify minority voices as we would know them today. But let us know. Let us know your thoughts and feelings. So Shahana and Trina, then myself. What's popped up for you, Shahana? What's been reinforced? What's new? What are you taking out from today?
Ah, I always love these conversations, and it's amazing for me how do we get into this flow state without any effort? Effortlessly flow state. And what that makes me, what's bringing up, and what Trina said just now, comments just prior to this was, we've forgotten that we're all connected at the heart level, not only with human to human, but human to all sentient beings, human to this planet. Everything to everything else is ineradicably connected. We are so deeply interconnected that no amount of false narratives through the centuries have served to dismember those ties.
Mm.
And as we see the collapse of the narrative happening all over the globe, I think we are collectively all over the world in different pockets of people, in different within different contexts, even different places, but we are remembering our interconnectedness. That's what I'm taking away today. That remember and honor that interconnectedness with all life and with this planet. We are part of this planet. We are of this planet. We are not an apex species that the Anthropocene makes us out to be.
Mm.
That was the Capitalocene's story that was imposed on the planet. But if we remember our deep interconnectedness, then the rest of the things will automatically fall in place. A narrative will emerge. Narratives will emerge from our collective wisdom.
Mm. Yes.
That's what I'm taking away.
Yeah. I love that. And what I take away from this conversation is that the same type of thing, that the power of the consciousness, of the consciousness of who we are, is so much beyond the physical realm that we can easily get in these flow states with each other, because I get goosebumps sometimes. I literally go, ooh, yes, when we're and things, and I call them downloads. I never have anything ready to say. Never. I just,
Never.
and I have the same thing with my podcast. I just start recording and I just let things come, because that's what it is to be free. I don't have to be some perfectly packaged product or thing to be approved of. I let it go. I let it go. And I would like everybody else to let that go and allow themselves to once again be open, be loving, hold healthy boundaries with those who show you who they are, you know? And that's trusting in yourself. And I think that if we do that,
Yeah.
the collective will save itself. Garry?
There's very little I can add to what you both just shared. And I really mean that from the depths of my soul. I really had a reaction in the back of my neck as you just shared that, Trina, because the one thing I'd like to share that I've taken away from today is the reminder around the universe. I thought it was brilliant, but also just this, my reminder, because of my context and the unearned privilege and power that I have just because of who and what I look like. I want to invite also yes and to everything you both said, but my and is we, my fellow perceived white skin folk, have got a little bit more work to do than what Trina and Shahana just shared, from the point of empathy for self. That inner work is critical, but we cannot allow ourselves to sit in that bypassing state of, yeah, it is all love, it is all one, it is all connected, and not honor the systemic oppression and challenges that do exist today as part of the systems that we're part of. So I'm just adding an extra layer that yes, and yes, we are all interconnected, we are all one, we're on this remembering journey from the inside out. But I invite my Q folk to also be very conscious of the systemic levers that we don't actually have to look at day in, day out, because of the privilege and power that we have been handed in an unearned way. And there's no judgment with that. It's really with invitation to get curious. So yeah, that's what's come up for me today as this discussion. Is just that real beauty, that coalescence of all our different perspectives, but also reminding myself, which is what I'm doing, right? I'm reminding myself of, don't get too comfortable while this collapse is underway. So yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
You,
Woo.
everyone.
So that's all I can do. I could just dance here with you both, just doing weird dances. That's what I'm reduced to.
Yes. I'd like a good static dance.
Oh, I don't want to let you go. I don't want to let you go, but that's me just being selfish. Take care, everybody. We'll be back in 2 weeks,
Bye.
similar time. Take care, everyone.
Bye
All the best.
bye.
Bye, everybody.